Hi, I'm Courtney Thomas, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about your cat people. So in one of my previous videos, I talked a little bit about, definitely in the context of marketing, but also in the context of life. When you come up against the person, like that one person who totally just doesn't get it, doesn't get you, doesn't get what you're doing, doesn't understand, and you know that it's not about them. And it's about your cat people, really. It's about the people who do get it, right? But I got some feedback from that video that, yeah, that's awesome. We know this, but sometimes it can be really difficult to put that focus on the people who matter, on not that one person who doesn't get it, but on that person who does, your cat people. And I get it. I totally understand that. For me, definitely focusing on, on the negative feedback or the one person who just kind of doesn't get it, or, when somebody unsubscribes from your email list, heaven forbid, I have definitely spent time getting wrapped up in that and getting in my head about it for sure. What am I missing? And, why doesn't this person like me? And it can be really difficult. That's kind of a human nature thing. We definitely fixate on negative feedback, even if we're totally covered up in a ton of other positive feedback and wonderful people who love us all around us. Sometimes just that one person stands out and can be really difficult to get past that and focus on, again, your right people and your cat people instead of the ones who don't get it, right? There's data on that too. And there's certainly data the other way. If you've got, a lot of stuff going wrong, but one person is oh my gosh, you're amazing. A lot of times we can focus on one bit of positive feedback too. So it certainly is, good to be conscious of both of those things. But I definitely feel so many more times we're a lot harder on ourselves than, we need to be. So how do we get past that? We really just should not be in this place where we allow that one person or the small percentage of the negative stuff to really impact and influence us in so many ways. So today I want to share a few tips for that. I've got 5 things to think about and 5 tips to get past the focusing on the one person to, put the focus where it needs to be. And it's tough. Absolutely. It's a process, but I hope that this stuff will, kind of give you something to think about, something to go on. And the number one thing by far, and the first place that you've got to start with this to really, again, bring the focus back to the people that matter and the feedback that really matters and that's critical for whatever it is that you're trying to do or put out into the world or however you want to show up, that is to know your values. You got to know what you believe, right? And this isn't just as simple as being it's family and hard work and, honesty. Okay, great. But there's probably a little bit more to it. So do a little bit of work to uncover what are the strong core beliefs, core values, whatever buzzword that you want to use, your top 3, your top 5 that really are meaningful to you. This is the stuff that drives how you go through life. It's what you are tied to. It's at the core of your being, and it definitely is going to drive all your decisions. And this is the stuff that, it's what everything else measures up against, right? So if you have a strong sense of your values, your beliefs, what you're all about, it's a really good gauge for determining whatever this one person, your troll, your hater, whatever, or again, that person who unsubscribed from your email list, maybe they didn't match up with your values. Maybe you didn't share that stuff. And that's okay, right? That makes it a little bit easier to go ahead and let go of that. And again, to refocus where you need to bring your focus. So, this applies personally and professionally, absolutely. And sometimes values can be common between both of those things. Sometimes they are a little bit different in each, but know your values. And then from that, it's about knowing your brand. What does your brand look like? What are, again, the core values of your brand, and what is that about? Know your why. Why are you doing this? And again, like maybe that person doesn't get it. Like they kind of don't see what the purpose of your business is. They don't understand you and, you know, where this is all coming from, right? Know your purpose. What are your intentions? And again, this can apply certainly personally or professionally. You know, if it's putting some content out into the world, what's the intent behind that? You know, what was your goal with that piece? What message did you want to portray? If you are clear on that, again, it's so much easier to stack up whatever feedback you get all across the board to determine, like, is this useful for me? Like, again, can I step away from what this one person is saying, right? So know yourself, know your philosophy, know where you're coming from. So again, you can kind of stack things up against it and you can gauge it and you can say, oh, okay, I get it. And that's okay. We're in different places. You know, they don't understand and that's okay. I can let that go because I know who I am. I know what my values are, purpose, vision, all of that. Like if they don't share my vision, that's cool. I know what it is and here I am. And, that means practice, right? Like, because I feel like we continually get feedback in the world in the form of, again, everything from an unsubscribe to an email list or a subscribe, right? That's a win. That's a cat person in your corner, to, you know, just like the casual message or the person up the street who's like, oh, I loved your blog the other day. Or, you know, the person who's like giving you the side eye, like, that person sucks. You know, like we're always absorbing this feedback. So it takes a little bit of practice to, again, it really truly like internalize and be very conscious of, again, your values, your foundation, your vision, all that stuff. And to keep that really at the forefront of your mind as we're continually bombarded with all of this feedback. So practice, right? And then staying consistent, okay, is tip number 2. And that definitely applies more to, again, content creation, things like that. You know, when I've talked in the past about like other people can opt out, great. Like stay consistent, but it applies also personally and professionally to staying consistent with your values, right? Like those things can absolutely change and evolve and will through life, but you're going to get to a point likely, you know, where certain things, again, are core to who you are, to what you're doing in your business. Stay consistent with that. Keep communicating. And then again, it's going to become a foundation of how you're showing up in the world to, again, how you can gauge whatever feedback you might get either way. If you know you're super consistent with whatever your messages are in line with your vision, your values, your purpose, the service you're providing, then if one person like isn't into that, great. Like, again, they can opt out. But you can stay consistent with who you are instead of letting the feedback sway you. And that's ultimately going to help you to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish in the world. Again, business or personal, how do you want to show up? And again, like 2A is practice. 1, consistency in itself, again, in whatever your practice is, whether that is, you know, the marketing itself, it's posting on social media, it's writing or doing video content, it is showing up for coffee dates or networking things with people, communicating your message, sharing your vision, whatever it is, like the consistency in itself takes practice. And then again, it takes practice to, you know, be able to listen and, you know, deal with your feedback, but in these healthier ways, to where you can sort it out a little bit better. So, you know, practice some more. 3rd tip is try to look at it objectively, which, like, believe me, I am totally, like, probably admittedly one of the most challenged people on this. Like, I have a hard time, and definitely have in the past, absorbing feedback, allowing for it, truly listening to it, without getting defensive first. And that has been something that, again, I have had to practice. But what I mean when I say look at it objectively is, you know, try to see it for what it is. Like, read this as just a blank page, right? Like this is the fact of this person's experience as it relates to me or my work or whatever it may be. Okay, what does this mean? But also, you know, put it up against your performance then. Is there some truth to this? What parts might there be? Again, where might they be coming from? How does this stack up against my values? All of that good stuff. So like definitely like try to detach, look at it objectively, you know, see what might be relevant, but then more so ask, is this relevant to the purpose, the objective, what I was trying to accomplish with what I was doing here and how I was showing up? Ask if it's relevant, if this person matters. And not so much like, oh, does their opinion matter? But like, kinda, you know, I mean, we can have a little bit more of a critical eye, like analyze this. Is it relevant to what the objective is and all of the other things that I have mentioned so far, right? Give it credit where it's due, absolutely. But there's a difference between like totally fixating on this super negative stuff, or again, that one person amidst an entire pool of people who are engaged with what you say, on board with your vision, or giving you a 95% out of 100, and then there's a one person who's like 1 star out of 5, you know? There's a difference, right? So it's about looking at it again, take a little bit of an analytical approach, but allow it in. But you don't have to take everything as a personal affront to yourself personally or professionally, your work. You don't have to internalize every single little bit. We can keep a little bit of a separation, right? And again, that takes practice. 3A, practice. Again, it's not easy. Like I said, I'm speaking from experience here, everybody. Like it is a challenge to take a look at things objectively, but oftentimes you're going to learn things, and that can always help improve for sure where you're at. But also too, you'll start to learn as you practice that like sometimes there are useful things within that one person's feedback, but sometimes there's actually not, because again, that goes back to how aligned you are with, you know, knowing what you're about, knowing what your values are, and what's the foundation of what you're putting out there and your purpose. So the flip side of that is, hello, look at what your cat people are saying. Like, you've got to listen to them too. If, again, you're focused on just this one person and the negative thing, or the person who doesn't get it, you're not giving credit to all the people who are standing there with you and cheering you on and giving you the awesome feedback, or just supporting you and appreciating how you're showing up. Like, they're doing that and they're with you for a reason. You've got to believe them. It does you and your work and how you're showing up, and also them and their opinions and their feelings, a disservice if you don't appreciate the people, that one person who truly gets it, right? So put some focus back on them, you know, like appreciate your cat people, listen to them. Remember that it's highly likely that they are far more relevant to, again, your objective, your values, your purpose, your vision than anything that one person could ever say or do. You know, they're less relevant than this, again, 95% of people who are totally there for you and that get everything that you're doing. And again, that takes practice. I know, it all takes practice, but you know, that's why I'm kind of putting this out there, you know, like start to be conscious of this and think about it. Like when you have that, oh God, like there's this one thing and I can't let it go. Try to come back to some of this stuff like, oh wait, but also then that other person in the room was like, oh my gosh, I loved this and I'm totally gonna go home and try it. That's a win. That's something to practice focusing on versus just that nagging negative voice in your head. And my final point is really keep going because totally that one voice doesn't matter. And honestly, in a lot of cases, none of the voices matter. It is amazing. And we definitely all want to build communities around us and together and collaborate in all of the things and, you know, find our cat people. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it all kind of goes back to that first tip, you know, and knowing your values, knowing your purpose and your vision, and keep going with that. That is what it's about. That is 100% what it's about. Not any of the other voices, right? So I hope that those tips helped. Think about practicing all of these things, starting with knowing your values, your brand, your vision, your purpose, your why, your intentions with everything that you're doing. Stay consistent with that. try to look at any feedback or, again, that one troll or whatever it may be, try to look at it objectively, put it up against your performance, and, ask if it's relevant and if this one person or this bit of feedback really matters to what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. Look at what your cat people are saying. Look at what the people who truly get it are saying and how they're receiving you, the type of feedback that you're getting from them, and how they're acting. Remember, that's probably far more relevant than anything else. And believe them and what they're telling you and how they're showing up for you. And keep going. Keep going. So I hope that was helpful in starting to think about, how you can approach anytime, again, that little bit of negative feedback, the person who's giving you the side eye and the group of people who are cheering, whatever it is, the 1-star rating among 100 other 5-star ratings. I hope this gives you a little bit of, helpful information to come back to. And I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear any stories you have about, things that have worked for you and any situations that you have successfully overcome, that a challenging bit of feedback or that one person and how you've dealt with that. I'd love to hear your stories about it. Let me know if this was helpful. You can always add a comment in the comment section below or shoot me an email over on my website, CourtneyThomas.com. And go out there, keep going, do the thing, practice. Let's show up together. Thanks for watching.